Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And I gotta tell you folks, this Raw to me was a rarity because for 3 full hours, this show was consistently good to great. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode of Raw. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
To put it succinctly, the Raw is on a roll. Let's put it that way. Last week was great, and this week was a very, very good follow-up. I don't even know if I think this week was better than last week's. It might be, because this was just a really, really good Raw from beginning to end. And like you said, all 3 hours were entertaining from beginning to end. I only really had like one facepalm moment. And I mean, since we're going to talk about facepalm moments anyway, we might as well get into our heat of the night, which I had 0 of.
I had 0 of as well, but let's address very quickly the facepalm moment that you had during tonight's program.
Just the fact that Kofi, Big E, and Xavier Woods were just kind of standing out there in the middle of the 6-man tag, and they didn't actually do anything. It's like Big E is teaching Kofi and Xavier Woods the ways of standing in front of a TV to watch a match, only they're adapting because now they're not in front of a TV, they're watching it live.
Yeah, that was a weird point in the match because they were watching it backstage on TV earlier, and then like later in the match they did come out live to get a closer view.
Yeah.
I can see that Xavier Woods, he's always been portrayed. I mean, they talk up how he's pursuing his PhD. He's a very educated individual, so I think he just wants to really study his opposition closely. Formulate a strategy before attacking senselessly. But still, I would have at least loved to have heard a promo from Xavier Woods because I just loved what they did last week and on Main Event that same week. So while I do like that it's kind of hinting at they may be going after the Usos, I just wish there was a little bit more oomph to their presence.
Yeah. It's basically at the point where they're just kind of making us salivate. It's like, here, we're going to give you this tiny little taste of what we can do and just dangle it over your head for as long as we can until we can't dangle it anymore, and then we'll maybe show you a little bit more just to kind of dangle it a little bit longer.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, Ashton. Is there anything else you want to say on the matter, or should we get into our formal review?
Let's get into our Monday Night Raw review.
Yeah, baby! And we open up with the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, John Cena. And you know what, Ashton? I gotta say this. I've been very critical of Cena over the past few months. But the one thing I have always said consistently is that when Cena is serious, that's when I like him best. And to me, this was one of Cena's best segments just altogether in a long time.
Yeah, this was to me the version of Cena that doesn't make everybody angry.
It doesn't, because he comes out and he's very honest about it. He says, I know what Brock Lesnar is. I was listening last week as Paul Heyman, touted his client, the Beast, the Conqueror, the man who defeated the Streak, the man who just destroys everything in his path. And I know I'm going to get my ass kicked. And I know just as well that so many of you out there are going to enjoy it, which gets a nice pop. This is a Cena that confronts his opposition and the people who revel in his trials and tribulations, but instead of shucking out, corny catchphrases and aphorisms of hope and strength, you see, I think, this very vulnerable honesty in my eyes, and that's what I really like about it, because he doesn't back down. He doesn't lose any spine, but I don't think he's trying to suck up to anybody, and I think that's why I really like this.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much what he says, that he is going to fight, he's going to do the best that he can, he knows he's in for a beating. It's inevitable. I mean, he does not talk down Lesnar in the slightest here. And then Paul Heyman cuts him off, and then I'm going to hand Paul Heyman over to you, Ashton, because I feel like Paul Heyman did a tremendous job here.
Yeah, Heyman always does a tremendous job. He closed Raw last week with a solid, 5+ minute, just solid straight promo, and he didn't necessarily go for that long this week, but he did just as well this week as he did last week. He just introduces himself. He does the whole "My name is Paul Heyman," and the crowd actually says that with him. So it's good to know that that's gotten over. He says that his client will conquer Cena at SummerSlam to take the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Says that Cena is saying some mighty big words for a man that's about to be turned into a victim. He asks Cena if he's ever really been victimized, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, he asks him if he ever, been victimized, traumatized, all this stuff, because he says that's what you're in for when you step in the ring with the beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar. And again, he's really touting Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman is one of the reasons why I think you can almost legitimately, to a degree, call Brock Lesnar a prize fighter when you have such a spokesperson in your corner. But then, Cena cuts Heyman off. He says, Paul, the biggest difference between me and Brock Lesnar, he may be bigger, he may be stronger, this and that, but he doesn't have the heart that I do. He doesn't have the passion that I do, and I know passion is something that you can understand. Cena then makes an ECW reference, and then he continues the theme of passion by saying, hey, I know at SummerSlam I'm going to get my ass kicked from pillar to post. He's going to beat me down, but I'm walking into SummerSlam as the champion, and I'm walking out with this son of a bitch. And he raises it over his head. I really like this. I did.
Yeah, to me, the promo that Cena cut in response to Paul Heyman is probably the best mic work that he's done since his program with The Rock.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah, I actually got into this, and you know what? And again, the disdain I've been feeling towards Cena lately, particularly in the wake of the Wyatt family program. But this was a Cena that if we saw him on a consistent basis, I may not like that he's the man all the time, but I could at least appreciate him a hell of a lot more than I currently do. This was awesome stuff. Really like this. Again, it didn't seem corny at any point. Even when he did say about the heart and stuff, he didn't do it in a campy way.
Right.
I just really appreciated the tone, I think is the word I'm looking for, Ashton, that Cena maintained throughout this entire program, this entire exchange with Paul Heyman. So this is a great opening segment for Raw.
It really was. It really set the tone. And then here's the thing: it wasn't over after Cena kind of said his piece, because who would interrupt but none other than Paul Heyman's former client, Cesaro.
I was very taken aback by this because
Same
I
here,
thought,
dude. It was so surprising to me.
yeah, they did the split kind of, abruptly, no real build-up or anything. It was kind of out of nowhere. And then this interruption, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to really study Heyman's facials because is he going to look disgusted? Is he going to look repulsed? But then Cesaro comes out, and then rather than, undressing Heyman verbally, humiliating him in front of everybody, and trying to make a point against Cena himself, asserting himself, he draws Heyman into an embrace, hugs him, and says, we may have decided to go our separate ways, but I will not have you talk to my friend this way. And then Heyman kind of gets a smile on his face. And then Cesaro pretty much lays down the gauntlet to Cena, pretty much going on the theme that you're not a wrestler, Cena. A wrestler doesn't, perform in sneakers. But then again, you just can't wrestle at all. And then Cena cuts him off, and I like the response here, too. He said, it is going to be an honor for this non-wrestler to out-wrestle you in circles in front of all these people. And he puts the mic down, and we get, for our first formal match of the night, Cena versus Cesaro.
Yeah, which was great.
This was a clinic. I don't know how much you remember from their first encounter, Ashton, but I have to say I think I like this one just a little bit better.
I think that the reason that you're saying that is because you have a hard time remembering their first encounter, because this was incredibly similar to it. The biggest difference from this match to that match was the way that Cena won. That's about it.
And that's why I prefer it, though, because I remember the way that Cena won the last match. He took Cesaro's head off with a clothesline, and then he kind of rolled through and got an AA. He did like an Oklahoma roll into an AA, some kind of weird variation on that. Here, well, before I get to that, let's talk about some of the other ridiculous spots. You had Cena doing his version of a Hurricane Rana. The apron plex from Cesaro, which is always sick. Got a nice Swiss death on Cena. That was another cool maneuver. At one point, Cena tried going for a regular AA, but Cesaro lands on his feet and boots Cena in the face. These guys had a tremendous back and forth with each other.
Yeah, they really, really went out there, and I think that really, more than anything, I think Cena was trying to prove Cesaro wrong. He was trying to prove that he can indeed wrestle, and that Cesaro was just all talk rather than actually having any kind of substance. And Cesaro was going out there to prove that he did have substance. I think that even without looking at it from a kayfabe point of view, both of these guys had a little something to prove in this match that they at least felt like they had to prove to the fans. Cesaro wanted to prove that he was legit and that he could go toe-to-toe with Cena. And Cena wanted to prove that he could, from a wrestling standpoint, go toe-to-toe with Cesaro.
Absolutely, and why I love the finish of this match, because now I feel like we're at an appropriate point where I can discuss it. They're on the top rope, and Cena nails a top rope attitude adjustment.
It was a middle rope. I believe it was on the middle rope, but yeah.
It was on the middle rope. Yeah, but you get what I'm really trying to say
right
here. But the fact that
mega attitude adjustment.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to phrase it. A mega attitude adjustment. I love that that's what it took to put Cesaro away. And honestly, I'm glad that WWE is getting back on track with Cesaro, because I'm not trying to say that his recent booking has been horrendous or anything, because he had two clinics with Dean Ambrose, but you figure he got eliminated by Heath Slater in the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal, and before that he was losing matches to Kofi Kingston and Big E, respectively.
Right.
So these matches with Ambrose and this match with Cena, Cesaro is really getting back on track, and the idea that it took a mega attitude adjustment to put him away after they had that barn burner of a matchup just shows you the grit that Cesaro possesses, even in defeat. This made him look like a friggin' $1 million.
Yeah. Cena, here's the thing. With Damian Sandow, I think that you and I both kind of agreed that it was a horrible decision for them to have Cena go over him in the conditions that were presented. But I think that this is a very different situation. I think that Cesaro genuinely does look better on the other side of this loss than Sandow did.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you have to figure the biggest disparity, Ashton, between those two. When Sandow cashed in, they were playing up that John Cena had come back from elbow surgery, like a big arm problem. Here with the match with Cesaro, they didn't really talk about any health issues with Cena. He seemed perfectly game. He seemed perfectly healthy. So, with that appearance, of course it's going to make Cesaro look better, because he took a perfectly healthy John Cena to the limit, and even though he lost, Sandow had a one-arm man ready to win a world championship, and he still came up short. So while I believe one man's stock is going to raise exponentially, it's really no surprise that the other one's practically crashed.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what it comes down to. But yeah, Cesaro and Cena put on a great match here. You referred to it as a clinic, and I would have a hard time disagreeing with that. Cena does win with the middle rope attitude adjustment, or just mega attitude adjustment, depending on how you want to look at it. We didn't really have any kind of post-match fallout from this. It just kind of happened, and that's it.